Hi everyone, in today's tutorial I want to show you how we can make this magnetic flow effect using subs and pops. Usually I mostly do my tutorial with pops, but today I wanted to do something different so I can teach you something different. We will use the metaball sub and also the magnet sub in order to be able to make those magnetic field, and then we will transform the subs into pops, and we will use the sprinkle component just to make the points effect, and also we will do some post-processing. Like always, if you don't want to follow along, I will have this project file on my Patreon, so let's begin. Let's open a blank new project. We will start by bringing a grid and a metaball. In the grid, we will change the primitive type to polygon, and we will also split our screen so I can show you what is happening in the geometry viewer. If you want to view the geometry here, you just have to enable the display here. Let's do both. And if you click on the geometry viewer and you click W, then you will see the wireframe. Next, we will bring a magnet sub. So the magnet sub, if you read the description in the bottom, so it allows you to affect the formation of an input geometry with another object using a magnetic field of influence defined by a metaball field. So it can only be used with metaballs. We will connect the first input into the deform because we want to deform the grid, and then the magnet will be the metaball here. So we will just display the magnet. We can turn off the grid, and then if we go into the magnet deform and then we translate the z axis, for example, then you can see that the grid is deformed by the metaball. Let's keep it at 0.4. And then the metaball, you can change the radius, you can change the weight, you can also change the model. So every model has a different smoothness, I believe, difference. I'm not an expert in the kernel function, but you can try every one of them and then the one that you prefer. The value I use for the visual I showed you in the beginning, so radius was 1 and then the weight was 1.6, and I used the Yville model, I believe. And then in order to have multiple metaballs, so in my example I had 5, I use a copy sub. We can bring a circle sub and change the division to 5, then bring a copy, then you will have 5 metaball, and then you replace here. But we have to make the grid bigger so we can see all the deformation. For the grid I use size 4. Instead of displaying one metaball here, we can display all of them. And then we need to create the normals in order to see correctly the geometry afterwards. So let's connect it to an attribute create and compute the normals. Let's attach it to a null. And then how can we create the twist inside the grid with the metaball? We will go into the magnet and then we deform the rotate attribute. So for example, if I put 45, then you can see that it has some rotation, and we want to animate this value. So let's bring a pattern chop. Let's change the length to 600, the phase to minus 0.25. So at the beginning of my loop, I will the value of the pattern will be 1, and then we'll go to my -1 and then go to 1 again. Let's bring a time slice and then a matte. In the range, we will change the to range. So when it's 0, we will keep at 0, but when it's 1, we want to have a minus 45. Then we can attach it to a null, and we can call this rotation. And then go in the magnet, make the viewer active, and just drag it onto the rotate Z. It goes from 45 to minus 45. I also wanted to add some more variation to this visual, so I also added a movement of the circle. After the circle, just bring a transform. And then in the rotate Z, I just used the Python expression ABS time per second times 360 times 0.1. So now the circle is also rotating. We are now ready to transform the sub into pop. So let's bring the sub to. To make geometry smoother, I connected a subdivide. So this will smooth the surface even more. Then I connected to a sprinkle. And the number of points will depend on your GPU capacity, but for my part, I use 300,000 points. Then I copied each point with a box. So let's grab a box and reduce the size to 0.1 and the uniform scale to 0.07. Then let's grab a copy. Then a null. I will close the geometry viewer. And we will make the render network. Let's grab a geo. In the camera. Light. And the render top. In the render, we will change the format to 16-bit float GBA. And the resolution will be 1080. You can attach it to a null, make the viewer active. We will grab a font material. The next thing we want to do is add a little bit more definition to the shape. We will change the point scale and the rotation of each point. For the point scale, we will grab a lookup texture. Then we will grab a ramp. And we will reference the ramp to the lookup texture. I just want to show you something with the lookup texture. So I will just output the color, but I will change it for the point scale. So for the ramp, I want to use a circular ramp. I want the points in the center to be smaller than the points going towards the edge. I want to have bigger points. And when I use the ramp over the lookup texture, you can see that it's repeated over the grid, but that's not what I want. I want only one circle. And in order to fix that, then you just have to go into the lookup texture and change the input extended mode. So instead of repeat, we will use hold. And then for the X and hold for the Y. But it's also not centered. What you can do is just change the lookup index. So to 0.5 and then 0.5. And now it is centered with our shape. Now we can change the output attribute scope to point scale. For the ramp, I will change the extend left to hold. My phase will be 0.24 and my period would be 1.39. We have to activate it in the copy. So let's go into the template and then activate the point scale. Next, we want to add some rotation. For that, I used a random and we will change the combined operation to set. We will create a new attribute that we will call rod. And then it will give each point a random value between 0 and 180. Then we can go into the copy and enable the rotation. So how can you see that it works? Either you view the geometry, because now the points are tiny so it's hard to see, but You can either split the screen and view the geometry and zoom in to see if you add some rotation, but another trick is that in the font, if you reduce the diffuse and then increase the specular, you can see the white points. They're actually points that are rotated, if that makes sense. For the background, I use a plane. I just copy and paste the geo and connect the plane. In the plane, you will put a uniform scale to 5. And for this material, we will choose a PBR. Let's grab another light. In the camera, since it's not even the border, let's go inside and put 4.5. Okay, now the challenge would be to add some more depth into the shape. I use some shadows to have more definition. In the second light, I went into the shadow and turned the soft shadow. I also reduced the base color of the PBR, and I reset the light color. You can just write 2. Let's go back into the magnet and increase the transmit Z, so make it 1. Okay, and in the light, just right click and click view. I also changed the position of the light so we can see the shadow here a little bit. You could even, if you want, add a third light and it on the other side. So you can even have more shadows. If you want to soften the shadow, then usually what I do is I create another render, just copy and paste, and then I drag the first geo onto the first render and select Parm Geo, so there's no background, and then I parm the second geo with the second render, and then this is only the shadows. You could also in the render 1, instead of all the lights, you could just select the first light. So now you don't have any shadows with this render. And then for the render 2, select the light 2 and the light 3. We have the shadows, and then you can connect this to a blur, and you can blur the shadow so it's a bit soft. And you can use a composite to post both together. You can use the add operation. If you want to add even more definition, then you can connect this to a level and reduce the gamma. Put it to 0.9. It would also increase the contrast. Okay, and how did I added the purple backdrop? I can show you the original visual. So if I put the visual up, you can see there's a purple backdrop here. So I simply use the pops here and render it with a geo and use a line material. So let's copy and paste the geo and connect the subdivide, and we will bring a line material. Reduce the number of here to 0 because sometimes it lags a bit the project. For the distance near, I use 2, 7 for the distance far, 0.5 the width near, and 1 for the width far. And in the line, I change the color here. The near color, now we cannot see it, but let's grab another render so we can see. And let's drag our Geo 3 to the, and use all the lights here. So let's put a star so it will grab all the lights. And then, oh, didn't part my material, so you just drag the line onto the GO3 and select material. In the line, for the far color, I think I use a darker color. And then I connect this to a level. And the bloom. For the bloom, you can the pre-back level. Let's display this one, and then the in bloom this, and you can use the bloom intensity to something like 0.15, and then after the first comp, you will composite the two, and we will change one. Then we can go in the level and in the box here and reduce the opacity. And to have even more points, what you can do is go into the grid, but this will also depend on your GPU. You can increase the rows and I think I use 100 in the original visual. Reduce opacity. Then we will use a Luma blur to blur the edge a bit, so it has more of a finished render. After the level, let's bring a ramp. In the output, I use the set resolution only. Then we'll use a circular ramp, extend bolt. Then let's grab a Luma blur. Then if I just bump up the white filter just to show you, now it's completely blurred, except in the center. Black color of the ramp would be the most defined, and the white would be the blur part. So if you increase the period, then we can see that the shape is starting to show. We will reduce the blur effect because it's too much, maybe, or pretty. And then if you want to have also more brightness, you can use a matte. In the add here, you can just multiply more brightness. We can use 1.1 maybe. 2. I feel the visual is better with more particles, so let's try to add more. Four, 1,000. Let's view it. So that's it for today's tutorial. I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.